Welcome back. A Time for Miracles, Chapter 4. Almost immediately the crowd began to buzz again. No, they shouted. The men who had gathered were again jockeying to make their preference heard. Amid shouts of Isaac, Jacob, and Josiah, there came a roar. Silence! Every head turned to see the intruder. Every voice quieted and every ear poised, and then Zechariah, the old priest, stood to his full height. I am his father. His voice, so long silent, rang out loud and clear. His name is John. The angel who visited me in the temple pronounced it, and now I have spoken. With that, Zechariah sat, and the crowd began to disperse. Only a few of the older men remained with the children. We were frightened and fascinated by this new development. It was indeed a time for miracles, and now we had witnessed another. Zechariah smiled and beckoned those of us who remained behind to gather round. Then he began the story he had so long tried to convey. I went about my chores in the temple, preparing the prayers and sacrifices necessary for the atonement. I knew what to expect, for I had questioned many of the priests to whom the lot had fallen in earlier years. It's a lonely task, they would say. Be sure you do not skip even one step, for the Almighty watches when you tread the path of His holy place. And so I began, careful to follow the prescribed ritual, paying close attention to each detail. I examined all the holy pieces within the tent and worked diligently with the food and wine sacrifices for the Almighty. Suddenly I felt that I was not alone. I looked up from my task to see one that glowed. It was not the Almighty Himself. This I knew, for I had looked upon the being and had not died. I must admit that I almost died of fright. I was afraid of fainting dead away in my tracks. Fear gripped me so that I could not move. The angel, for so he was, spoke to me. Don't be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayers have been heard. Great joy will come to you because your wife Elizabeth will have a baby. The baby will be a son, and you will name him John. I must tell you that I was dumbfounded. This angel, this messenger from the Most High, knew me. He knew my heart's desire. He knew my wife and our secret prayers. But how could I believe him? My wife was old, and I was older still. The angel continued. He will be a great joy to you, for he will be great before the Lord. You must give him no wine or liquor. Instead, he will be filled with the Spirit of God, even from the time he is in the womb. He will influence many in Israel to turn back to the Lord. It will be as if Elijah were among you again. Such will be his power. It is this child who will make way for the Lord. We could not keep our tongues then. What did you do? What did you say? Were you still afraid? We asked all at once. Of course, Zechariah laughed. I was afraid. But patience, little pups. I will relate it all. And so he continued. When I found my wits, I asked, how can I be sure this is real? I pointed out that I was an old man and that Elizabeth was well beyond the age that women usually give birth. The angel answered, I am Gabriel, the messenger of the Lord Almighty. He is the one who makes all things possible. But since you must have a sign, here it is. You will not speak, and then when your wife has the child, you will know that the Lord said it is so. When he left me, I could not speak. I was unable to make one sound until today, when I followed the instructions of the Lord and named my son John.